Are we good? So I was asking about Pimp My Ride.
Yeah.
What exactly happened with that? Like why it ended and possibility of a reboot. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it ended because my contract was up. Um, um, that was it. Um, Pimp My Ride, nobody knew what that show was going to be, right? And so when it started, they put us on at like 10 o'clock at night. They had like 13 episodes in the first season, and it just blew up, right? And so once that was over, my contract was up, and I didn't want to renew it, and nobody understood why. I mean, the show was so dope. This, and that, is that. Yeah, but for me, it was like, you know, we had 3 years on the show. You know what I'm saying? And we did a tremendous amount of good for people.
Mm-hmm.
My Ride was the first of those kind of shows, right? And it was about wish fulfillment. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about the car. It was about this could happen to me. I think that was the premise of the show. That's what made it good. It wasn't about tearing somebody down or having fun at somebody else's expense. It was about wish fulfillment. As the seasons progressed and got bigger and bigger, I mean, the producers, you know, like sometimes I would walk in the garage and be like, "What the fuck did y'all do to them cars?" It was like they were so intent on connecting the kid's story to the build when it just got out of hand. And so then on top of that, it was like all these like promotional things, video games, sprites, the sodas and fucking, companies that just product placement and all this shit. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a lot going on, right? That just took away from the soul of the show. So when it was time for, my contract to be done, I just didn't want to do it anymore because it was not initially what I signed up for.
And did you have ownership in the show at all?
Absolutely not. And that
Wow.
was another problem. There was hundreds of millions of dollars made off that show, and I had a hosting fee, and there was companies built off this show. People bought private islands off that type of money.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And
Shit.
so then, so then I was left holding the bag, like, oh, Xzibit, Pimp My Ride. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, like that's not my shit.
You know,
but it's argued it's to be argued that that show was built on my back and my credibility, and that's what made it sell. So they did try to keep it going after I left, and it failed miserably. And so that's why it probably won't come back with me. But if they do reboot it, God bless them.
didn't they say that when you say something to the line of that you can get any black dude with braids to do that or something? Did you say something like that in the interview?
Yeah, that came back through the grapevine. That's why if you remember, I don't know if you've ever watched a series like that, but there was an episode that was hosted by Chameleonaire, I think.
Okay.
Uh, and that was like because I was like, nah, I'm going to tour. So um once that episode hit, it was a wrap.
Did it surprise you when Nick Cannon went through what he went through, and a lot of people thought that he owned a piece of Wildin' Out, that he owned Wildin' Out, and come to find out he didn't, and people were all shocked and upset about that. TK was on here, and he talked about how upset he was that Nick Cannon didn't own a piece of Wildin' Out. Did it surprise you that he didn't own it, or did you know what time it was with MTV and Viacom?
I was under the impression that he owned it. I thought he created it. I believe he created it.
Yeah.
If he did create it, and the coconuts got shuffled, and somehow they gave him a little bit of money and ended up taking ownership. We as entrepreneurs have to speak to each other, because what the problem is that our people like the appearance of success.
Yeah.
They like the clothes and the jewelry and the cars, the appearance of it. But real generational wealth, you can't drive it. You can't put it in in a jewelry or outfit none of that shit. It'd be a motherfucker in some dirty ass sneakers and t-shirt and some raggedy pants that be the richest motherfucker in the room.
Yeah.
So we got to get off of that. You know, it's about titles and deeds and ownership of, you know, what you actually are involved in. You know, once we start spinning that and start spreading the information on how not to get fucked, I think that's more important than flossing a nigga or telling how much money I got and how much money you don't got. We need to start sharing information that's actually helpful to us that want to be in business. So Nick Cannon, man, I'm not surprised because it happens more often than you think.
Yeah.
And I know that the brother gonna bounce back. I know that he gonna be able to learn from this and create something even bigger. I think those opportunities are still there for him.
Sure.
Definitely. Now, how's your relationship with West Coast Customs? Did that end good? You guys still cool?
I don't really have nothing bad to say about West Coast Customs. You know, I just don't. You know, people grow apart. You know, it's all good. I love Ryan. I wish him much success with his company, and you know, it's been all good. I think our families got together like once or twice. You know, since the show was over, so it's no bad blood. Nothing bad to say.
You know, I've always been curious throughout my life watching you since you came out. And I obviously I know your name. I learned your name just recently, but how Alvin Joyner turned into who we know now as Xzibit. How you came up with the name, how you realized that you wanted to do this thing called hip hop. Like, when did you kind of turn into who you are right now?
Well, Alvin Joyner. You know, of course, I'm named after my grandfather, but you know, every time I was in grade school, motherfuckers would say Al. Every time roll call would happen, it would be like Alvin, then some asshole in the back and say Simon Theodore. See, it's still working. Never gets old, but I'm named after my grandfather, and you know, like my parents were school teachers, right? And so I was very, you know, versed in English. My mother was an English teacher. My father, you know, was a special education teacher, and he's also a principal. So, you know, we would go to school, and then we come home and go to school again. They would try out their lesson plans on us. So I became a wordsmith. And so I get that gift from my mom. So I say that to say that, you know, my parents were also very religious. And so they hated rap music. They fucking, every time they found something that had any kind of hip hop or any kind of rap on it, they would break the shit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or destroy it and whoop my ass. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I couldn't win. And so then I started, you know, the next best thing to that was to write it myself. So I just took it upon myself at 13 to start writing, right? And so I started like getting better and better, and I started calling myself Exhibit A, right? Because for Alvin, right? And so as things progressed, I started going to like college radio stations. Like I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time, and I would go to KUNM and just freestyle on like the 10 o'clock show because that was the only outlet where that you can do shit like that. It was like me and a few other people. And so then when I moved to California at 17, I got to be around King T and the Alcoholics, and a group called 360. It was a production team, right? And so I dropped it. I used to spell Exhibit like the real way you spell it,
right?
You know, with the E, and then Exhibit A. And so then I just put the X and Z and dropped the A. And so that's how I became Exhibit. And I started writing from that. From when I met King T and the Alcoholics, they were the first artists that, you know, I knew with record deals. They were the first people I knew that, you know, taught me how to write a song and structure and a hook and a bridge and a verse, 16 bars, 4-bar counts. Like I learned all of that from there, because before I would just like rap for like 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And like, no breaks, no breaths, no nothing. Let's just spit.
Bars.
You know? And so I started off as a battle rapper, and then I learned song structure, you know, around 18, 19. and that's when I dropped my first record. My first record I ever recorded in the studio, when the lights came on, when they turned on the mic and put up the board, the first thing I put out was Paparazzi. That was my first song I ever recorded.
Wow.
And that bitch went gold.
Yeah, now how does that work? You see somebody come off, you go in there, go into the booth for the first time, create something like that, shit goes crazy, you get all this attention. Where did it go from there?
Well, it was crazy because I had a huge fan base in Europe first. So my first touring experiences, even though I was a West Coast MC, was in Europe. Like, my shit blew up out there for some fucking reason. And so I ended up going to Europe and doing a lot of touring. And then by my second album, I had come home and I released a video called What You See Is What You Get. And it got a lot of attention. And from there, you know, it was just like one thing after another. I did this song with Snoop called Bitch Please. And then I got Dre's attention. And then Dre started working with me, and we got on 2001. And then I was on Up in Smoke. And then it just domino effect. You know, it was a long road. I mean, I'm giving you the, like, you know, Reader's Digest version. You know, that's kind of the steps that it took to